So banners line up, and then everybody else.
All right, friends, we're going. Anyone think roll for me? Thank you, Will. Indigenous Peoples Day now. Indigenous Peoples Day now. Indigenous Peoples.
It's a long weekend in Boston, the weekend of Monday, October 9th, a day the majority of Massachusetts cities and towns recognize as Columbus Day. But this year, 28 cities and towns across the state will instead celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day, including Boston, where on Saturday, October 7th, activists marched on the State House to rally in favor of a bill that would rename the holiday statewide.
Your signature. And then, so the struggles for Indigenous people to get their land back and the struggle for socialism are inextricably linked.
Advocates from a tapestry of local left-wing groups met at Boston Commons, marched to the State House nearby, and from there to Faneuil Hall, also a social justice battleground in the historic city of Boston.
Well, good morning. Peter Faneuil was a wealthy merchant in Boston in the 1700s. In fact, he paid for the construction of what became Faneuil Hall.
Here in Boston, the renaming of Faneuil Hall is back in the public debate. Peter Faneuil, for whom the iconic building is named, was a slave trader. Is this the moment it could actually be changed, Marianne?
Peoples. Because the Faneuil family, not only did they sell slaves, they were in the business of catching and sending enslaved people back to their so-called masters, those criminals.
Rallygoers defended a number of priorities, directing to the state capitol on Beacon Hill their most immediate demand to rename Columbus Day.
So it can be difficult, and that is why we have been taking a bill up the hill to the State House to have a statewide Indigenous Peoples Day. It's time to get rid of Columbus Day once and for all.
On October 3rd, the Joint Committee on State Administration and Regulatory Oversight convened a hearing where, among other tasks, state legislators reviewed Senate Bill 1976, an act establishing an Indigenous Peoples Day.
Without further ado, would like to welcome up Mahatwan Munro of the Indigenous Peoples Day Mass and United American Indians of New England with us in person.
This is the third consecutive legislative session where progressive lawmakers have pushed for this name change. WBUR, a local NPR affiliate, reports the bill has 20 more sponsors this session than it did last session, but that it still lacks crucial support from the Senate President and House Speaker.
What happened in 1492 is not a matter of interpretation, nor is it a subject of debate. While some here today will deny the history and slaughter, our painful reality as Indigenous people is that the genocide that began more than 500 years ago continues to reverberate today. Celebrating Columbus erases the near annihilation of Taino, Arawak, and many other peoples. It is an effort to silence us, to make us invisible in a state where thousands of people think we are extinct. It has a terrible...
Hi, it's Jo.
Hi.
Hi.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm doing... State Senator Joe Comerford is the sponsor for the bill to rename Columbus Day in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We spoke over the phone about Tuesday's hearing.
So boy, this is a priority bill for me. We had a pretty wonderful hearing of the bill before state administration. And you know, I'm sure that the bill was reported favorably last session. So bills that are reported favorably last session start the session, you know, almost like on a trampoline. You know, it's like a nice leap forward. So I have some hope that we will be able to see this come to fruition.
While he was introducing the speakers, Senator Nick Collins chaired the joint session, a responsibility that includes introducing speakers who come to the State House to testify in support of or against a particular bill. Senator Collins used this opportunity to highlight the relevance of Columbus Day to the Italian-American community. He read from President Joe Biden's 2022 proclamation on Columbus Day and concluded his introduction, saying that he hoped from the proponents, with all that background, understand why maybe we should be looking at and learning more about an Indigenous Peoples Day that doesn't replace but exists alongside Columbus Day.
I'm so glad that you raised this. So I was not in the hearing room when Senator Collins offered that introduction, although I have heard about it. People who were there to speak heard the senator's introduction. It's not let me just say, it's not usual for a chair to give that kind of preamble before hearing bills, because, chairs our job is to listen to the entire Commonwealth and make sure that everyone has an equal and equitable way to make their voices known to the committee. So it's not usual for a chair to tip his hand, if you will, to his feelings on the bill. And I was, concerned for, the Indigenous leaders who were in the room. I was concerned for the young people. I had 3 young students who drove all the way out from Amherst because they believe in this. Young people are the future for this bill. I think there's just the support from young people is so overwhelming. It's like a no-brainer. Whereas, older folks, we're set in our ways more, and it's harder to move us. So a rising generation that's been, that's much smarter on race and ethnicity and colonization, genocide, than my generation or generations before me were, are really the thing that's going to make this prevail.
Me and along with other Italian Americans want to say they don't represent us. Columbus doesn't need to be a symbol of Italian Americans. There are plenty of other Italian Americans who've done wonderful things for this country. Columbus is not one of them. We cannot celebrate Italian Americans on a day that is honoring Columbus. You cannot celebrate a perpetrator of genocide and victims of genocide on the same day.